Good day, scholars. Welcome to our next reading lesson. We are today on lesson 57 in our Reading Mastery book. So if you don't have your book and packet with you, press pause, go grab your book and packet. Lesson 57. Column 1. Word 1 is demonstrate. What word? Right, demonstrate. Word 2 is computer. What word? Right, computer. Number 3 is breakfast. What word? Yes, breakfast. Word 4 is aisle. What word? Aisle, right? Like when there's an aisle, a walkway, right, between the seats, maybe on the two sides of the movie theater, or if there's an aisle going down the church, right, or an aisle in the auditorium where the concert is going on, right, a little walkway, an aisle. That's the word aisle. Airplanes have an aisle. People often want the aisle seat because then they can put their legs out. Word 5 is gravity. What word? Yes, gravity. Let's do column 1 the quick way. Get ready. Demonstrate. Computer. Breakfast. Aisle. Gravity. Good work. Scholars, column 2, all the words have more than one syllable, and the first part or first syllable of each of them is underlined. So word 1, the underlined syllable is trem. The second syllable is bull. So tremble makes, right, tremble. Word 2 is a 3-syllable word. The underlined part is cab, and then we have and net. Cab, net makes, correct, cabinet. Word 3, the first syllable is dark. The second syllable is ness. Together it makes the word excellent, darkness. Then, scholars, number 4 is another 3-syllable word. That underlined part is ox. And then we have gen. What word? You got it, oxygen. Word 5, the first syllable is equip. The whole word is, yes, equipment. Number 6 is a compound word. 2 words put together to make a new word. That first syllable or first word is key, and then the second word is board. That compound word? Right, keyboard. Good work. Nicely done. Column 3. Oh, we better do column 2 the quick way. Get ready. Here we go. Tremble, cabinet, darkness, oxygen, equipment, keyboard. Good work. All right, column 3. All the words in column 3 have endings, so be careful. Word 1, yes, palms. Word 2, do you know where your palms are? Right, this is the palm of my hand. Word 2, right, gaining. Word 3, yes, guests. Number 4, right, partly. Number 5, good, helmets. I hope you wear helmets when you're skateboarding, bicycling, scootering. Helmet protects your head. Number 6, right, provided. Column 3, the quick way, here we go. Palms, gaining, guests, partly, helmets, provided. Good work, scholars. Let's go to column 4. Word 1. Yes, survive. If you survive, it means you live. If you live through an earthquake, you survive the earthquake. Word 2 is the word pressure. What word? Right, pressure. Number 3 we've had actually as a spelling word earlier this year. It's the word waist. Do you remember where your waist is? Put your hands on your waist. What's that word? Right, waist. And number 4, good, suit. Let's do column 4 the quick way. Ready? survive, pressure, waste, suit. Nicely done. Column 5 is our last column, scholars. Word 1 is liquid. What word? Good, liquid. Number 2 is baggage. What word? Right, baggage. Baggage is a synonym, right? Another word for luggage. Right, your baggage is your luggage. Number 3, weightless. What word? Yes, weightless. Number 4 is fastened. What word? Good, fastened. Let's do column 5 the quick way. Get ready. Liquid, baggage, weightless, fastened. Coffee break. You can take a sip of your coffee right now, too. All right. Part B is our story today. We're continuing on with our information. Do you remember what happened when we left off? They were just getting on to Traveler 4, right? And she found out Sydney was going along, which made Wendy pretty happy. So, Traveler 4. The inside of Traveler 4 was beautiful. It looked even better than the pictures Wendy had seen. The seats were dark red and very comfortable. You could lean them all the way back to form a bed. Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? In front of every pair of seats was a cabinet. Inside the cabinet were 2 spacesuits and 2 space helmets. There was also a little table for writing just below the computer keyboard. And there was even a little TV screen. You could select movies by pressing a button, or you could just press a button for computer games. So everyone, take a moment and look at the picture on that next page. It shows a pair of passenger seats and the cabinet with all those things in it. Take a moment to look at all those things. Find the spacesuit. Find the space helmet. Touch the TV screen. Can you find the writing table? Looks like a pretty comfortable spot, doesn't it? Kind of makes me wish that's how I could ride around in my car. Sydney sat next to Wendy. They kept looking at each other and smiling, but Wendy felt very nervous. She noticed that the palms of her hands were sweaty, and the inside of her mouth felt very dry. So, scholars, there's 2 things there that tell us she's nervous, right? They give us some good evidence. She noticed that the palms of her hands were sweaty, and the inside of her mouth felt very dry. Maybe you've had that happen before when you've been nervous. I know my palms get kind of sweaty, and my mouth feels very dry if I get nervous, like speaking in front of a bunch of people, right? Or going into a room and I don't know anyone, right? I get a little nervous. So those are 2 ways that we know, right? Give us evidence that she was nervous. Suddenly, a sharp screeching noise came from below. Then a voice came over the loudspeaker. "You'll hear some strange noises," the voice said. "The one you just heard was the elevator in the cargo section below you." So, scholars, what would an elevator in the cargo section be for? Right, to load cargo onto the ship, right? The other things it's going to take with it. Wendy noticed that a flight attendant was standing in front of the passenger section. He said, "I will tell you about the equipment on this spaceship. As you know, there is no oxygen in space, and there is none on Jupiter." The flight attendant continued. "Each passenger has a spacesuit and all the special equipment needed to survive in space." So, what does that mean to survive in space? Hmm, right, to stay alive in space. The attendant said, "When we get close to Jupiter, I'll show you how to work your spacesuits and your tanks of oxygen. Until then, do not take your suit from the cabinet." Hmm. A loud blowing sound seemed to come from behind the passenger section. The flight attendant said, "Those are the engines. We're ready to take off. So lean your seats halfway back, fasten the seatbelt around your waist and across your shoulders." So, what two things were the passengers just told to do? See if you can remember them both. Did you say lean their seat back and fasten their seatbelts? So, take a moment, everyone. Fasten your seatbelt. The flight attendant said, "You will feel a great deal of pressure when the ship takes off because the spaceship is picking up speed very fast. You'll feel as if you're being pressed very hard into your seat. The pressure is no more than you would feel if somebody were sitting on your chest. The pressure lasts for only a few minutes." So, everyone, who's talking right now? Oh, right, the flight attendant. And think about having someone sit on your chest for a few minutes. Right? Maybe you've had that happen if you have a sibling and you're wrestling around. Right? That's a little pressure on you. Makes it a little harder to breathe, doesn't it? Hmm. The flight attendant said, "Remember, when the pressure starts fading, you'll be able to sit up and look out of the window." So you would not be able to sit up and look out the window before the pressure faded. Why? Did you say something about the pressure, right, being strong enough, right? There's enough pressure that you can't even sit back up, right? It would be sort of like, scholars, if you took your hand and you have your other hand on top of it and you're pressing with this hand down, right? This other hand has a harder time getting up like this, right? While the pressure is there. So, the flight attendant concluded, "If this is your first trip, you'll be very impressed with what you see when you look out the window." Wendy leaned her seat halfway back. She fastened the belts around her waist and across her shoulders. Her lips felt very dry. The blowing sound was becoming very loud now, very unpleasant. A voice was saying something over the loudspeaker, but Wendy couldn't hear it over the blowing sound. The blowing sound was now a roar that seemed to make the spaceship tremble. Then the roar got so loud that Wendy wanted to hold her hands over her ears. Then she felt as if something was pushing her back in her seat. The ship was moving very fast. It had taken off. The roar was even louder. The ship was trembling. For an instant, Wendy was afraid that it might fall apart. But then she told herself that the spaceship was probably going through layers of air so fast that it felt like a car going over a bumpy road. Hmm. Scholars, press pause. Read the rest of this to yourself, and then I have a few questions for you. Take your time. Press play again when you're finished. All right. So, when did that roaring sound disappear? Right. When the ship was now moving faster than the speed of sound, the roaring of the ship disappeared because as the ship is engines are roaring, the ship is moving faster than that sound reaching them in the passenger section. Right? Listen to that little part again. It was very important. The engines were in the back of the ship, but their sound could not catch up to the front of the ship where Wendy was. So there was no roaring, no noise, and the trembling stopped. So, scholars, the engines are in the back of the ship, and that sound never reaches the front because they're moving faster than the sound can reach them at the front of the ship. So imagine if you were sitting in the back seat of the car and your car was moving faster than the speed of sound. If you said something in the back seat, the people in the front seat wouldn't hear you because the car's moving faster than the sound can get to them. Wow, interesting. All right. Very interesting. What planet did Wendy see out the window at the end of today's story? Right, Earth. And she saw green and blue with white streaks. What do you suppose those white streaks are? Yes, clouds. Very good. I bet that was quite a beautiful sight. All right, scholars, join me now in our packet work. All right, scholars, looking at our packet work today for lesson 57. Right, our first question is, how do you know Wendy was nervous when she first got on Traveler 4? So right at the beginning of today's story, we found out Wendy was nervous. How do we know that, right? What was our evidence? So we're looking for two pieces of evidence, right? Two pieces of evidence, like two things we read that support our answer, right? That support us knowing she was nervous. And I'm remembering, right, from our rubric, our little scoring rubric at the bottom, right? Part of the question is in my answer. So when I go back up here and look at this, how do you know Wendy was nervous when she first got on Traveler 4? I know Wendy was nervous. Oh, my favorite word. Because the text, right, or the story, the text said she and, right, I want to use an and because I need two pieces. And that she boom. Right? So, scholars, if you're not sure of this, go back, reread the beginning of today's story, right? Think about what is it that we read that told us she was nervous, right? How do we know she was nervous? It's toward the beginning of the story if you need to do some rereading. Then number 2, would you want to go on Traveler 4? Why or why not? So, using, right, part of the question in my answer, I would want to go on Traveler 4 because right, what's your reason, right? Why, right? Because, and then why would you want to? Or I would not want to go on Traveler 4 because blah, 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 blah. So if you start, right, both of yours like this, or in a similar way, there's certainly other ways you could use words from the question. That's going to give you this part, right? And if you answered both parts, right, that's going to give you that point. If your first question, right, if you gave two pieces of evidence of how you knew she was nervous, right, that's going to give you that point. And then your text to self connection, right, that's this question, number 2, right? You're connecting it to yourself. Would you want to go on Traveler 4? Right, that's about you and connecting to you. And then, of course, if you capitalized and punctuated correctly, you would get a point for that. So scholars, remember, 2 reasons, right? 2 pieces of evidence to support knowing she was nervous, and then a reason why you would or would not want to go on Traveler 4. Good luck. We look forward to reading your responses.